Welcome to the IREL podcast. Are you sick and tired of real estate gurus pitching their next free construction deal only to find out years later they were completely wrong? Worried the next overseas conference you spend thousands to attend will only be used to sell overpriced lots in deserted developments? Join thousands of other international real estate seekers who are looking for their place in paradise without the sales pitch. Straight from your host, Taylor White.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the HomeAway episode of the IREL podcast. I'm your host, Taylor White. I am really excited to sit down and speak with Jon Gray from HomeAway, which connects homeowners and property managers with travelers who seek the space, value, and amenities of vacation rental homes as an alternative to hotels. Right now from Jon, you will learn the exact reasons why homeowners and property managers use HomeAway and why it's becoming one of the best ways to generate positive cash flow on vacation rentals. Provide specific reasons why it makes more sense for travelers than hotels, especially if you're looking for space, value, and amenities on your next trip. Uncovers all the benefits HomeAway offers homeowners and property managers, such as managing client inquiries, bookings, and much more. Goes into better details the different solutions HomeAway offers and details exact client case studies on who might benefit most. Reveals by listing on HomeAway, you are exposed to over 53 million travelers each month, and their research shows you can earn up to $56,000 per year in rental income, and much more. And don't forget, if you're listening to this podcast and want to learn more about HomeAway, links on how owners, property managers, and travelers can take advantage, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/HomeAway. Take out your map of the world, Robert Allen's book on buying real estate with no money down, and get ready to be schooled in vacation rentals. In case you can't tell, I'm excited. Let's get Jon on the phone. Jon, what's going on, buddy? It's Taylor White. I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, straight from HomeAway headquarters, so we can get to know you personally. Tell us more about yourself.
Hey, hi, Taylor. Thanks for having me on. My name's Jon Gray, and I'm the Senior Vice President of the Americas business for HomeAway. The Americas business at HomeAway covers the North American area, which is primarily U.S. for us, but also Canada and Mexico, as well as our offices in South America, which are in Bogota, Colombia, and in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So those are the areas I look after for HomeAway. I'm originally from Texas, San Antonio, actually. Attended college here in Austin and was lucky enough to get to stay afterwards and work at HomeAway for the past 9 years. I have a wife named June and a daughter named Sydney, and we love to travel. One of the things that, attracted me to HomeAway in the first place was love the travel business and seeing the world. Have traveled in a number of vacation rentals across the world. I think 4 different continents at this point. Last one I did was in Costa Rica with my whole family, and it was really fun. So that's pretty much a little bit about me. Also, I'm just getting into the vacation rental business here in Austin with a house that I recently purchased. I'm going to start renting out as a vacation rental for the festivals, which we have a lot of here in Austin.
So, Jon, of course, I have to ask you, for your vacation rental, are you going to put it on HomeAway?
Of course, absolutely.
But I don't think it's fair if in your title you say Senior Vice President at HomeAway, stay in my house.
I definitely won't, because I will. I mean, much of it for me too is about learning about how owners use our sites, and I think it's really cool to be able to walk through the process kind of in the eyes of actually experiencing what an owner does, and something that I wasn't able to do up until now, but that I'm excited to get started with.
100% agree. And Jon, so we can get a better idea of you professionally, give us your brief resume leading up to and then becoming Senior Vice President at HomeAway.
Sure. So again, I started with HomeAway about 9 years ago, and that was so immediately after business school, I worked at Austin Ventures, which is one of the companies that funded HomeAway. And one of the deals that I worked on at Austin Ventures was HomeAway. And really, fell in love with the business, liked the people who were working on it, and thought it'd be a great opportunity. So came to work at HomeAway full time at the end of 2004, before HomeAway was even fully a company yet. And I've done a number of different roles over my time here, starting as a marketing analyst and kind of working my way into leading our global strategy and analysis teams, looking after our global operations, and then being in a couple of general management roles, one over our homeaway.com site, which is our flagship business in the U.S., and then most recently looking after the entire Americas business. So that's pretty much, over the course of 9 years, the steps that I've taken through HomeAway. And, still 9 years into it, find it a very exciting business with a ton of opportunity. And, it's also one of these businesses that provides a ton of value to two sets of customers. On the traveler side, staying in a vacation rental is an amazing experience. And then on the owner side, we're helping owners, do some great things like sending their kids to college, like, covering the cost of their mortgage and things like that. So it's a great business to be in. It's been very successful to date, and I've had a lot of fun with it.
Hey, John, I'm just curious. You have two strategic offices in South America. You said Bogota as well as Rio. Can you explain why you chose those places?
So Rio, we actually purchased a company in Rio called Alugue Temporada, and it is the largest website for vacation rentals in Brazil. I believe we purchased it in 2010, and that is, that site was a market leader that we purchased and then came in and rolled out our technology stack on it and have been growing that site ever since. So we inherited a team there and then have scaled it since then. The Bogota office is a bit more recent, and it was our area that we selected to address Spanish-speaking South America, because I'm sure most of your listeners know this, but Brazil can't access Spanish-speaking South America as well because the primary language in Brazil is Portuguese, not Spanish.
I have actually used it in Fortaleza, Brazil, and it was absolutely fantastic. John, this is an Overseas Property Insider podcast, so let's really focus now on HomeAway and what it's all about. I know it's considered by many to be the worldwide leader in vacation rentals. Let's take a big step back, though, for listeners. Give us your 30,000-foot overall business strategy, or put more simply, what is HomeAway?
So HomeAway is the world's leading marketplace for vacation rentals. And what we mean by marketplace is it has two really distinct customer sets. It has travelers who are looking to find a vacation rental to stay in, and owners who have an asset, a property, that they're looking to rent out and that they're looking to make money from renting out. So we're basically a venue that brings those two parties together. If you think about, kind of when eBay was started, it was started as a, America's garage sale, bringing items to market that people could then come shop for and doing that over the internet. That's basically what HomeAway has done in vacation rentals, is really brought that together as a marketplace. The company was founded, like I said, about 9 years ago by Brian Sharples and Carl Shepard, and they, their vision was to bring groups and families together in vacation rental homes. And, again, to help owners who have these assets be able to make money off of them, and to help travelers bring their groups and families together to share really memorable vacations. So that at a very high level is what we do.
So, John, I'm curious, as I'm looking at your site right now, and just want to double check, as we have listeners from about 60 countries currently, does HomeAway operate in just about every country in the world under the same master company of HomeAway, or do you guys have certain satellite companies in different jurisdictions?
So we have different satellite companies in different jurisdictions, but let me start at a bit of a higher level there, which is
please.
We're the, like I said, the world's leading online marketplace for vacation rentals. We have 773,000 properties across 171 countries, and what that means is pretty much anywhere you want to go, you can find great HomeAway rentals to stay at there. Now, sometimes the brands are slightly different based on local differences, but for your English-speaking listeners, for example, you can always come to homeaway.com and find most of that inventory across the world. So really, HomeAway is our, for lack of a better term, umbrella site, but the homes that are listed on it, can be available across most countries on other sites as well as HomeAway. In the U.S., we operate two other very large sites called VRBO and vacationrentals.com. In the UK, for example, we operate a site called HomeAway Holiday Rentals. In France, the site doesn't share the HomeAway name. It's called Abratel, which was a 20-year name that had been out in the market and that there was some good market knowledge of. So it's listed as Abertel from HomeAway, so it's the parent company is HomeAway clearly, and you'll see HomeAway in the branding of the websites, but it just depends by local market is really the best way to answer the question. But we do operate sites, again, across a number of countries in 16 different languages. And over the course of the company, it was made as a roll-up of purchasing successful vacation rental sites and bringing them together to build a network of sites where owners and travelers could get the most out of the marketplace. And we, over the time have acquired 19 vacation rental companies to pull this together. And again, operating now in 16 different languages.
So that's fantastic. So if a house is listed on vrbo.com, it will also show on homeaway.com. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. For the most part. I mean, for simplicity's sake, yes.
Right. Okay, John, in real estate, as you know, we have two main categories, those looking for it and then those that have it. Let's focus now on those looking for it. Can you better explain some of the reasons why people might look to rent vacation rentals as a, for instance, instead of hotels, motels, hostels, that kind of thing, and then some specific benefits your sites offer?
Sure. So the first thing I would say is that people who are looking for vacation rentals are typically traveling as a group or family with 5 or 6 people traveling. And the value proposition is very clear for a vacation rental with a group of that size. You would have to rent a couple or maybe 3 hotel rooms to make a group like that fit together. Then you end up spending time in hotel rooms and restaurants and not together. What our sites are all about is about bringing people together to stay as a group or as a family. And, when you stay in a vacation rental, it's a very different experience. You have a kitchen, you have common areas. You can, put the kids to bed in a room and have the adults stay up later and watch a movie. Things like this that come across as pretty simple pleasures, but are actually really core to how fun a vacation can be. And these are things that HomeAway really unlocks for groups and families. So I think that is, from a need state perspective, the core customer for us. The average property on HomeAway is between 2 and 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. So these are bigger houses. It's not like renting a hotel room or a studio apartment or something like that. So there's also a very big value in being able to rent all of those rooms at once because they're typically cheaper than renting 3 hotel rooms or something like that. Also, you can stay in places where hotels, motels, and hostels aren't, be it right on the beach, be it in a local neighborhood that may not have, a bunch of hotels in it, things like that. So there's some really cool amenities like that. Also, many of our vacation rentals are pet friendly. Many of them offer private swimming pools, things of that nature that can really improve the trip for groups and families. That's what we focus on. The other thing that I think is interesting in mentioning about, people who are looking to buy real estate, or people who are looking for it is people who are looking to purchase it. And one of the things we've seen recently on HomeAway that I think is pretty interesting is we've seen a lot of people buy real estate in the hopes of retiring into it later and renting it out on our sites in the meantime, because over half of our owners are able to cover more than half of their mortgage by renting out the properties. So that's another thing we've seen. So, if you think of it as people who are looking for real estate, there's people who are looking to stay and also people who are looking to buy. So that's, I think, the value proposition of the site for each of those groups.
So, John, since you're talking about the real estate aspect, if someone was going to buy a vacation rental and they wanted to rent it out on sites like HomeAway and like vrbo.com, what would be the perfect kind of vacation rental?
So it really depends. And where you start with this is you always want to start with what you want to have. Because at the end of the day, a vacation rental is about your personal enjoyment. Some people look at it as purely an investment, but for the most part, it's a hybrid between something that you're going to enjoy and spend time at with your family and something that you're going to look to make money off of. My best advice to people is to first kind of start with a house that they're really excited about and a house that they really want to have. Maybe a house that they want to move into in retirement or spend a couple weeks in a year now, something like that. But really start with that at the core. Then go on our websites, look for houses that are similar to it. Look how much they're charging per week. Look how full their calendars are to understand how much they're booking up. And that can help you make some good decisions around where you should purchase a property, what size of property you should purchase, what proximity it is to, events and beaches and things like that. All of those things are important. Obviously, houses that are closer to beaches are going to be more expensive than those that are further from the beach. But, they might also be more expensive. So it really depends really dramatically by market. You can do a lot of good research by looking at the sites, and you really have to start with the passion for the property, I think.
So, Jon, why don't we pretend that I'm a renter, I want to go to Boracay in the Philippines. Do I need to create an account, join your site, and pay any fees? Or can I simply go to your site and check what's there?
Absolutely not. You don't have to pay anything. The site is free to use for travelers. You can go look at any properties you want all over the world. We show pictures, we show calendars, we show third-party reviews. All of those things are open to you. And the only time you pay as a traveler is if you're paying the owner for renting the property. But the site is completely free to use for travelers. And, it's actually something where I think it's pretty easy to use to go through and, pick the right property for you and contact the owners and that type of thing. You think about where this business was, prior to HomeAway and really the internet. People would be advertising in classified sites and things like that. And now it's really a few clicks of a button, and it's nearly as easy to do as trying to find a hotel or a motel, which have been made also pretty easy by looking at the internet.
So, Jon, if I'm a renter, I go to the site, I can see the property listings on your site, I can probably see pictures of the owners, I can see reviews, that kind of thing, then I would deal directly with the owners themselves. That has nothing to do with you guys besides the fact that they're listing on your site, right?
That's correct. There's a couple of things where HomeAway is involved, and one is that we offer a secure payments portal called Reservation Manager that allows you to pay and book online on properties. Obviously, the interface is directly with the owner, but it's through a secure system that is operated by HomeAway. We also offer some products that travelers can purchase. One of them is called Property Damage Protection, and what it does is it covers up to $5,000 in minor damages incurred during a property stay. And so this is one of these things that we offer to travelers, in the event that an owner wants to collect a security deposit or something like that. It just makes the process a bit smoother for travelers. Also, one of the things that people worry about with vacation rentals, which is very rarely an issue, is, things like, is the property not going to be similar to what I'm seeing on the site or things like that. The biggest way around that is to look at the reviews of the property. But we also offer a product that helps with that specific need state, which is called the Carefree Rental Guarantee, and it covers a traveler's trip cost in the case of a home being non-existent or not as promised when they arrive. And again, that's something that doesn't happen often, but oftentimes travelers want that additional peace of mind, so we do make that available to them as well.
So, Jon, we just talked about people that are looking for real estate. Why don't we flip it and focus on those that have it? Can you better explain why someone who is a property owner or someone who helps rent out properties, like an agent or broker company, would use a site like HomeAway or VRBO.com?
Sure. It really comes back to the marketplace principle I was talking about earlier, which is, if we have a very large collection of travelers who are coming to HomeAway sites to find a place to stay. So as an owner, you want your property to be displayed there alongside the properties or alongside where other properties are that travelers are coming to look at. So I think that's the biggest piece of it. Our sites average around 200 million visitors each quarter. So we have a lot of people coming to the sites to see the properties, and we deliver a lot of value to our owners' customers. So we charge on average, well, not on average, but between $349 and $999 to list, and you pay based on where you want to show up in the search results, and we call them subscription levels, or you can pay as a percentage of the bookings you take. But in either of those cases, you are paying what is a fairly inexpensive amount of money to get a pretty significant amount of bookings. The average property on our site actually rents out for 18 weeks a year and makes $28,000 in bookings. So if you look at that relative to the cost that owners are paying to list on the site, it's a pretty good value for them. So that's the main reason I would suggest owners to look into renting on our sites. Another thing is we really invest heavily in this industry. We have more than 1,500 employees across the world, and roughly a third of those are in dedicated customer service roles. Their job is to help make the owners successful. Their job is to help owners build great listings, to answer questions they have, to help them with new products, things like that. And they're available 24/7 for our owners to work with. We also have a pretty big collection of our employee base across the world focused on driving traffic to your properties or as an owner, and also on just generally marketing them and building great products on the internet. So we have a huge focus on building a great site that brings a lot of traffic, where you can go build a website on your own, but it's very difficult to generate that type of scale without having these network effects of the marketplace that I talked about.
And then, John, you just touched on it some, but why don't we transition now to prices and benefits, as I know you guys just launched a few new great features. Can you better explain the different categories of advertising you guys have, what benefits those come with, and then prices?
Sure. So the core product that we've had for many, many years is a 12-month subscription. And what that is basically you pay for an advertisement on the website that is going to run for a year. And those start at $3.49 and go up to $9.99. And again, you pay based on where you want to show up in the search results. These are great for customers who are looking to rent out, most of the year. That's the product that is basically made for them, because it keeps the marketing cost very low relative to the number of bookings you get. Also, for people who are kind of scared that they're not going to be successful, or they're looking to rent only a few weeks a year, we offer a transactional product that charges 10% of the bookings, as opposed to charging just an annual subscription. Again, that doesn't make financial sense for someone who's looking to rent for a bigger part of the year, but it does make sense for the categories of people who are looking to get started and are apprehensive as to whether or not it'll work for them, and for people who are looking to rent out a shorter season. The pay-per booking model, the transactional one, is also perfect for people who are looking to rent out their home for events. Like I mentioned earlier with my house here in Austin, is I'll focus on renting it out for the events, and basically a pay-per booking model makes a lot more sense there, because there's only 3 or 4 events a year. You're not going to be renting out for the whole year. So it makes a ton of sense for events as well.
And then, John, I'm curious, do you know what percentage of people list that have a single home that might be a property owner, and then what percent might be like a developer or a property manager, that kind of thing?
I don't have the number off the top of my head. I would say that the business historically was built mostly off of people who had 1 or 2 properties, and that property management companies have become more and more of a focus because they've expanded in just their existence, and also they've expanded in our focus of bringing them into our marketplace. But I don't have the specific breakdown between the two.
Okay, perfect. John, I have one more question, if you don't mind. Can you speak more about typical results people might get? People want to know that if they spend money to advertise on the sites, they'll get a great return on that investment. Do you have any average rental return numbers that we might expect to get?
Sure. So I'd say it a few different ways. One is, if you look at the average, it's called ADR in the travel space, but average daily rate, right? That's something around $250 a night. So a subscription cost $349. Obviously, the average daily rate will depend on the type of property you have and everything like that. But the subscription costs $349. So 2 days of rentals on average, and you pay for your subscription. Average property on our site is booking out 18 weeks. So 2 days of rentals to cover the cost of the subscription seems pretty easy by that logic. Also, of the 18 weeks, the average gross bookings that come in for the 18 weeks booked are about $28,000. So again, you look at the $28,000 relative to the $349 spend, and it's a pretty significant return on the marketing investment. I mean, even if you were to have the $999 spend, it's a very good return on the marketing investment. Another way we look at it is from the perspective of, if you're renting out to cover the cost of your mortgage, how much of your mortgage are you covering by renting out? And what we found is that over half of our owners are able to cover 3/4 or more of their mortgage. And I actually said this earlier, is half can cover half. It's half can cover 3/4. 70% can cover half of their mortgage by renting it out on the sites.
Well, Jon, really great talk today. Unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye. But before we do, share with us easy ways to take advantage of HomeAway, any parting advice you might want to share, and then let's say goodbye.
All right, I'll just say that we're very excited about the growth opportunities in the vacation rental business. Again, this is a category that's existed for a long time, but really bringing it onto the internet and making it broadly available and making people aware of it have really helped us grow this business. In the U.S. and Europe, there's roughly 13.5 million vacation homes that are not currently rented, and an additional almost 1 million vacation homes that rent for only 4 weeks or less. So the opportunity out there is really still ahead of us, and that's really exciting. The other thing that has changed, I think, over time in this industry is that according to the National Association of Realtors, sales of vacation rental homes are climbing. They're actually up 10% in 2012 from 2011, and 92% of vacation home buyers said that they're looking to rent that home in the first year. So that's something that just is very new, and there's people who are really focused on making these vacation rentals available to groups and families. And we think that's something that's very exciting for both the traveler side and the owner side of our marketplace. So, really exciting time for HomeAway, really exciting time for the vacation rental industry. And, as it relates to your listeners, really exciting time to get involved in this industry. So that's about all I'd say on it.
Absolutely fantastic, Jon. I have really enjoyed this conversation, straight from HomeAway headquarters to our earbuds, and I hope we can catch up again in 3 to 6 months.
Sure. Thanks, Taylor. I enjoyed being on. I appreciate it.
I want to thank Jon once again for breaking down how owners, property managers, and travelers can all benefit from HomeAway and what it has to offer. If you are listening to this podcast and want to learn more about HomeAway, links on how owners, property managers, and travelers can take advantage, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/HomeAway. I can speak from experience on using HomeAway myself on trips to Fortaleza, Brazil, Lima, Peru, Las Trenas, Dominican Republic, Panama City, Panama, and several other destinations while traveling over the last few years. What I like most about using vacation rentals instead of hotel rooms are the facts that I can rent fully furnished apartments, complete with kitchens, and usually much cheaper than comparable hotel rooms, and often many times in the same building. To take it a step further, I have always rented from a very knowledgeable owner or property manager who checks me in and lets me hit the ground running with local insights I just can't get from the hotel receptionist. If you're a big fan of getting more for your money like I am, head on over to irelpodcast.com/HomeAway and get started.
You have been listening to the IREL Podcast with Taylor White. Be sure to hit up irelpodcast.com for more. That's irelpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.